I wonder, could all this madness been avoided if I hadn't entered that relationship with Abigail? Had I stayed faithful to Elizabeth, would I still be in this stone confinement, almost as if I was one of the pigs back home? What will my sons grow up to be like? Will they be honest, hard-working men, faithful to their wives? Or will they be as susceptible to the human faults they've inherited and fall into disgrace, much like me? What about the unborn child inside Elizabeth? When it is born, what will the child think of me? How is my wife holding up in her cell? I can only hope that she has held these few months and can escape the fate handed to her by the court. As I look around my bare cell, I can see the scratchings of previous prisoners, all scattered around the available space on the walls and ceiling, surrounding the ground, made of dirt and a pile of straw with the occasional pest running through. All the scratchings resemble what looked like a home, complete with a happy, smiling family. What have I done? Every day someone comes in and hums a tune reminiscent of my days at church, back before that blasted man Paris had arrived and spewed his horse crap about the evils of the world and everything bad that could happen. I miss the days before he came, back when the church was about the good of the world and the people, not just the bad. I long for those days without Abigail. Now, sitting here, alone in my cell, I reminisce once more about the day I met Elizabeth, and the day I fell for the charms of Abigail. I met Elizabeth on a rainy day in midwinter. It had been a chance meeting in which we had chosen the same inn to stay at. We had literally bumped into each other and made some small talk. That day I had met my future wife. We found that we lived walking distance from each other and set a time we could meet again. Eventually, after several meetings, I began courting her, and that eventually evolved into holy matrimony. Years later, we had 3 sons and had just hired some servants to help around the house to help alleviate the stress on the now sickly Elizabeth Proctor. Sadly, one of these servants had only moved into town with her uncle. She was Abigail Williams. The days Elizabeth was out, either in bed or in town, Abigail would materialize out of thin air, and every time I would leer at her body. What a fool I was, blinded by lust and desire. I could not see the blatantly obvious truth. She was a calculating, obsessive girl who just could not let any chance of what could only be a delusional fantasy slip by. But I am only human, and a man at that. I was so blind! This may be my last day before my trial, and there's still so much I want to do and say. Like kiss my wife and tell her how much I care. No. How much I love her. Seeing my boys again and teaching them to be great men as they grow. Maybe even being as lucky as Goody Nurse and having multiple sets of grandchildren. Alas, I cannot. Not anymore. I no longer have that right. I would either have to convict myself of witchcraft and destroy my name, or maybe, just maybe, I can fix this mess. So I hope that God is willing and with me, at least for tomorrow, long enough to save the rest of the innocents in this rotten place.